Howdy, lads, MBs, and lasses. This is another short form update. One in particular about the big push that I led in the last session for the HOA board to have our bylaw amendment threshold reduced from 67% of homeowners to 27% of homeowners. The latest update on this has been the attorney was able to draft up the verbiage of what needs to be said and what has to be done, as well as a sample ballot. So if you are interested in already voting on that, I will have the PDF down in the description below. But let's get into it a little bit, because this was one of the big things that I pushed for with the coalition in the last session, where we really wanted to remove this blockade for our community being able to choose more easily what it wants to do with its resources and the way that we want to live within the community. The biggest thing with the 67% was just, this is something that is to virtually make it impossible for you to change anything. And so with this proposal, it will be to reduce it to 27%. Mind you, the 27% of homeowners have to approve of whatever the item is on the ballot. However, we found that the participation based off of elections brings us into the 27% realm of folks being participatory when it comes to voting and making decisions for the community. So that all being said, this would just be a vote to remove that and replace it with 27%. Then we can start doing other things, and that will be dependent upon what members bring up to the board, what the board feels is necessary to do. But I wanted to read what the attorney provided us so that way you could hear it, and then I'll go over a couple pros and some instances in real world where we've had this rule prevent us from catching up with the modern times. And usually what happens in these situations, when you can't get enough people mobilized to get that 67%, you're going to have to wait for decades for that to go through Congress up to the state level to then override it. So let me read what the attorney drafted up for us real quick. Proposed bylaw amendment that reduces the consent threshold for amending the bylaws from 67% to 27% and a draft ballot for owners to cast their votes. As I mentioned, that's in the description. The amendment also eliminates obsolete language concerning declarant rights. Per the current bylaws provisions, to have a successful amendment vote, you will need approval of 67% of all voting interests, not just 67% of quorum. Now, that's huge. This is going to be a major campaign. Now, luckily, there's no rule that says how long that campaign can run or how long that vote can stay open or can't stay open. So that's in our favor, but this is going to take a big mobilization on the board's part, of my part, of any of you watching. We're going to do a lot of block parties. The vote can be had at an HOA meeting or absentee vote or any combination. We have sample ballot from the attorney. Again, in the description below, it's a PDF. You can download it, sign it. You can simply send it off to Goodwin. One other thing, I think we'll be able to also open up the online voting through buddy elections. Much easier way for you to vote. I'm always a big fan of doing things online. The only thing that the attorney mentioned was the absentee ballots. We'll have to revise the ballot for use as an absentee ballot. There's special language required for that purpose. As currently written, the threshold for amending bylaws is the same as for amending the declaration, and thus is stricter than what is found in most communities. The approval margin for bylaws amendments is usually lower than for declaration amendments. In fact, in many, if not most communities, the board itself, by board vote, has authority to amend the bylaws. Reducing the approval threshold to 27% would have the effect of allowing bylaws amendments to be adopted by essentially the same margin as it would take for a successful vote at an owners' meeting. The quorum is a majority of owners per bylaws Article 2, Section 11. A majority of a quorum would amount to at least 25% plus one of all owners. Now, keeping in mind, this is not to vote on increasing the board size, or should we allow chickens, or do we want to have metal roofs because we're all tired of replacing our current asphalt roofs every time it gets destroyed every 5 years at the hailstorms. This is only to then give us the opportunity to vote on those items and actually have a chance of passing or declining. That way you can get involved and participate, but it doesn't make it so, right, the term act of Congress to get it done. This is how that developer law is written to make it so you just give up and don't even try. So that's what we're doing. Keep fighting so that way homeowners get a power back, feel more appreciated, because then you get a say that actually does something and you can participate in voting, not just voting for 5 people to represent 2020 people. You actually get to start getting involved with things that you would want to see or allow or not allow in the community. Right? It can go either way, but at least there's an opportunity there for it to actually happen. As with the 67%, this is going to be a major undertaking. So some of the things that will make this a really good thing for the community is, support of lowering the 67% amendment requirement. It's easier to update bylaws to keep up with technology and generally keep them updated. It's an apathetic majority who doesn't care to participate in meeting votes, cannot stand in the way of updates or amendments. So that's huge. And I'll give you some examples of where this rule kind of bit us in the butt and where we had to wait for decades for the state to come in and override it. 3 great examples. I'm sure you know what the first one's going to be. Obviously, rainwater collection. That was not allowed under the HOA bylaws. Luckily, some diehard folks took that fight to the Capitol and the state of Texas, overturned it, and you are then allowed to have rain barrels. The other example is HOAs were notorious for being super aggressive about you having a turf lawn, being only allowed to have 2 trees in your front yard, just egregious, unsustainable practices. Well, somebody or some group took the fight again to the state capitol and won water-wise landscaping. So HOAs then were curtailed in their power over what you could do with your lawn. This is really great news. My whole entire front lawn is water-wise landscape, and I can't speak enough good things about it. But had we had the 67% rule not there, homeowners before myself, and I know there's plenty of you out there who are on board with it, could have made the motion and got this thing done without waiting for the state to come and overturn the power of the HOA. And the third one, solar panels, was another instance where you could have had solar panels, but you would have had to fight to get 67% of our homeowners, that's 2,020 people, to approve of just solar panels, right? And that's why when we come back to why we want to do the 27%, it takes all 3 of those instances and reduces it to 27%, so it's way less of a daunting task. And it gives us the opportunity to overcome that without waiting for the state to then make that happen for us. There are plenty of things that have been going to the state for multiple decades and keep failing that homeowners have been wanting that they can't get because the 67% makes it almost impossible for them to get it done. With that all in mind, I really, really hope you can see the benefit in why we should reduce this. I think it will give us the opportunity to do a lot of things. And to be honest, we may not do a lot with it, but it will allow us the chance to do stuff if we choose to. I think it's a great cause to get done. One thing, it's funny, in talking to the property manager, this would be a landmark case for a HOA to take that 67% and take it down to 27%. So if you vote to approve this, you would be part of history when it comes to taking away the power of an HOA and putting it back into homeowners yourselves. So make sure you hit like and subscribe, because I will probably be going over more information on this as it progresses through the year, as well as if we end up doing an Election Buddy online vote, if we end up doing absentee ballot. But if you want to get out ahead of it and just start right now, by all means, download the PDF, sign it, vote, send it over to Goodwin. And with that all being said, y'all stay safe out there. Take care. Bye.